What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Welcome to day 340 of the 365-day graphic novel review challenge. Today, I want to talk to you about the Batman Adventures Volume 1. This is the first 10 issues of the comic book series that was based on Batman the Animated Series. This is written by Kelly Puckett, Martin Pasco, with art by Ty Templeton and Rich Burchett. And if you are a fan of Batman the Animated Series, you will love this book. And that might seem like a really obvious statement, but let me explain why I felt like I needed to say that. Sometimes I will really love a TV series, and then a comic book will be made based on a TV series, and most of the time, I'm either indifferent or I actively hate the comic book. For example, Angel After the Fall was a sequel to the TV series Angel, which, for the most part, I really liked. Angel After the Fall, the comic book, what I read was not very good. There were some good ideas there, but overall, that series was a steaming pile of garbage, and it made me like the series a little bit less because it was from the same creator who worked on the TV series. And sometimes whenever I see a comic book is based on a TV show, I'm thinking, I don't know, I really love this TV show, I don't want to get into this comic book, and then it's subpar. Or I have in my mind, this is what's canon with this TV show, I don't want to go and read this comic book, and then that's interfering in my mind with what is and is not part of that world. And in that regard, I'm thinking of shows like Bob's Burgers and Adventure Time. Those are two shows that I love quite a bit, and I've been very hesitant to read the comic books based on those shows because either A, I don't want to read something that in my mind might not be very good and then it affects my enjoyment of the TV show, or B, it might be great, but then I'm thinking, no, that's still not the show. That's a separate thing, and then I'm thinking about that whenever I'm watching the show. So a lot of times I try to avoid these comic books based on a show that I really like. So you may be asking, why did you buy this book based on Batman the Animated Series? For a few reasons. One, I like Batman the Animated Series quite a bit, but I don't hold it on as high of a pedestal as a lot of people do. There are episodes of that series that I don't think are very good. I think a lot of the reason that a lot of people really love that series is because it was a huge part of their childhood, and while I remember it being part of my childhood, it wasn't a huge part of my childhood. For me, growing up, Batman was a huge part of my childhood, not a specific version of Batman. I remember watching the Burton movies just as often as I would watch the Adam West movie, and I would also watch Batman the Animated Series. So for me, it was just a small part of the Batman that I had growing up. So I don't have this huge love for Batman the Animated Series that a lot of other people do. I do love the DC Animated Universe. I do love Batman the Animated Series, but not as much as a lot of other people do. And also, I had heard some really good things about this series, more so than what you normally hear about a comic book based on a television series. So I checked this out, and it turns out this is amazing. This is a really good series. In fact, at times, I almost want to say that this is better than a lot of the episodes of Batman the Animated Series. For one thing, this does what I always wished Batman the Animated Series would do, and that is it has a continuity through these issues. The first three issues really act as sort of an unofficial three-parter. The first issue is a Penguin story, the second issue is a Catwoman story, and the third one is a Joker story that the previous two issues are leading up to. Joker appears in the first two issues in kind of a cameo role, and then the third issue is a Joker issue, and really, you don't have to read issues 1 and 2 to read and enjoy the Joker issue. So it's not like Batman, Penguin attacks part 1, and then Batman, Catwoman attacks part 2, and then Joker attacks part 3. It's not like that, because in issue 3, Joker offhandedly mentions that Penguin and Catwoman helped him do this thing that you're now seeing happen in issue 3. But I really like this continuity that's flowing in these issues, and a lot of times in the animated series, I didn't really like this, where you would see Robin in an episode, and then it might be 20 episodes later before you would see him again. And I really like that here, you're not having that happen as much. Now, there's still standalone stories here, and there's some really good ones. There's an issue here where Killer Croc, he is fighting in a a kind of a underground boxing tournament. I really like that one quite a bit. That's a fun little issue. I like the one where Bruce Wayne is accused of murder. In a lot of ways, it kind of reminds me of the big epic Bruce Wayne murderer / Bruce Wayne fugitive initiative storyline that happened in the late 90s, the main DC Comics, but it's all done in one issue. But I like those issues quite a bit. There's some really good stuff here. There's a really fun Riddler story here that is very funny and also a little heartwarming too, specifically from the point of view of one of the bad guys in the issue. But there are some fantastic stories here. In fact, some of them I really wish had been made into actual episodes, because I feel like this series does not get the love that it deserves. I think that some of these issues, if they had been made into actual episodes, people would be praising those episodes very highly, whereas they wouldn't be praising those episodes when they were done as issues of this comic book series. But if you are a fan of Batman the Animated Series, you definitely need to check this series out. If you haven't read this series before, if you have a casual love for Batman the Animated Series like I do, you definitely need to check this out. If you like Batman and you want to see some really good Batman stories, read this. It's not as cartoony and aimed at kids as you might think. The animated series was kind of handcuffed at times in how it had to do stuff very much by a set of rules, how they weren't allowed to do certain things because kiddies are watching and we can't corrupt the kids by showing a little bit of violence or stuff like that. This comic book, I'm not saying that it's like super perverted or super violent or anything like that, but it definitely feels like it's almost geared a little bit towards an older audience than the animated series is. There are times where I'm thinking like, ooh, I can't believe they got away with that. For example, at one point, Batman is questioning a whole bunch of people on this page, and he's asking this guy who works at a hotel, and behind him is a sign that says that they have hourly rates. And I was thinking like, that's a little risque for a comic book based on a cartoon that aired on Fox, aimed at children. So anyway, this is really good. I like it quite a bit. I am very eager to read the rest of this series. I was just kind of like interested in it, but I wasn't really sure what I was getting into. I didn't think that it was going to be as good as it ended up being. So now I'm extremely interested in reading the rest of this. I'm very much in a hurry to get the other volumes, and I can devour them as fast as I devoured this book. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the Batman Adventures Volume 1. I hope that you guys liked this review, and if you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will be back tomorrow with a different video. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.